Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Kinnemonth. I work for the denim team in Lenzing, and today I'm going to tell you about the latest product we're going to launch to the market. So the corona pandemic has highlighted the interconnectedness of our lives and the inherent uncertainty surrounding global economics, business, and humankind. Similarly, the protests associated with the Black Lives Matter movement have increased the pressure to solve social issues that pervade large parts of society and the fashion industry. We live in extraordinary times where the interlocking crises facing humanity can seem overwhelming in their complexity and in their impact. This turbulent year has heightened awareness of many challenges in the textile industry, including supplier relationships, employment structures, overproduction, waste, and greenhouse gas emissions. Civilized humans have been around for approximately 10,000 years, and during that time, the Earth's climate has been relatively stable. I was born in 1956, which was towards the end of the Holocene geological period, when a stable climate allowed humans to flourish. We have now moved into the Anthropocene epoch, characterized by humans' destruction of the very conditions that allowed us to thrive. Climate change is already having substantial physical impacts at a local level in regions across the world. The affected regions will continue to grow in number and size. Since the 1880s, the average global temperature has risen by about 1.1 degrees Celsius, with significant regional variations. This brings higher probabilities of extreme temperatures and intensification of hazards. As average temperatures rise, acute hazards such as heat waves and floods grow in frequency and severity, and chronic hazards such as drought and rising sea levels intensify. On a daily basis, companies are faced with a myriad of environmental issues to deal with: forestry, water, chemicals, recycling, biodegradation, compostability, pollution, transparency, traceability. What should be the environmental priority for all our companies? Changes to the way of life due to COVID-19 are only a dress rehearsal for the changes required to stabilize and then reverse climate change. John F. Kennedy once observed that the word crisis in Chinese is composed of two characters, one representing danger, the other opportunity. He may not have been entirely correct on the linguistics, but the sentiment is true enough. A crisis presents a choice. This is particularly true today. So Lenzing has chosen to prioritize carbon reduction as part of its fiber portfolio. Climate change is one facet of the Sustainable Development Goals, but also it is increasingly dominating factor when it comes to sustainable development to be achieved on our planet. Decarbonization is covered in 4 of the goals, but particularly in SDG 13, which stresses taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. It is improved by the addition of Goal 13.2 that it requires countries to integrate climate change measures into national policies, strategies, and planning. Science-based targets are a set of goals developed to provide guidance on a clear route to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. An emission reduction target is defined as science-based if it is developed in line with the scale of reductions required to keep global warming below 2 degrees C from pre-industrial levels. In order to scale up the adoption of these goals, the Science Based Target Initiative was formed towards the end of 2015 through a joint partnership between Carbon Disclosure Project, the UN Global Compact, World Resources Institute, World Wildlife Fund, and Lenzing is the first wood-based fibre producer with approved science-based targets. The first milestone is set for 2030, when Lenzing plans to cut down CO2 emissions per tonne of product by 50% compared to a baseline at 2017. According to the Fashion on Climate report, the global industry produced around 2.1 billion tonnes of greenhouse gas emissions in 2018, equaling 4% of all global total. This is equivalent to the combined annual greenhouse gas emissions of France, Germany, and the UK. Around 70% of fashion industry's emissions came from upstream activities such as material production, preparation, and processing. The remaining 30% was associated with downstream retail operations, the use phase, and the end-of-life activities. Most companies measure and take responsibility for only Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. However, for many businesses, especially those that produce physical goods, the bulk of the emissions are likely to be in Scope 3, which include a broad range of activities that are in the company's supply chain and that are out of its direct control. Reduction should be the primary activity of all companies on greenhouse gas emissions. When I'm asked about what are the three most important things, I say reduction, reduction, reduction. Offsetting is an activity of last resort when all other avenues have been explored. The main message here is that we are all in this together. Collaboration is a key activity with both suppliers and customers. For Lenzing to reduce its greenhouse gas footprint, it requires that their suppliers do the same. For brands, retailers, and consumers to be able to reduce their carbon footprint, they require the help of suppliers such as Lenzing. Scope 3 contributes strongly to the overall emissions of brands and retailers. Generally speaking, for apparel, dyeing and finishing, yarn preparation, and fibre production tend to be the most carbon-intensive phases and can account for more than 50% of its life cycle emissions, according to Qantas. For a brand and retailer, textile production steps can be found in purchased goods and services, which make up around 73% of Scope 3. And this is a significant part of Scope 3 emissions, which itself is 95% of total emissions in this example taken from CNA in 2018. Lenzing ensures the carbon neutrality of carbon zero TENCEL through an independent third party, Natural Capital Partners. The carbon neutral protocol was created and is managed by Natural Capital Partners. They were the first to provide a clear set of guidelines for business to achieve carbon neutrality back in 2002. They developed the carbon neutral protocol, which acts as the guiding principle for zero carbon TENCEL fibers. Carbon neutrality is achieved by calculating a carbon footprint and reducing it to zero through a combination of in-house efficiency measures, renewable energy, and external emissions reduction projects. Carbon neutral certification means that a company is following the protocol in order to make clear, credible, and transparent claims. Here are some of the internal activities Lenzing has undertaken: cleaner energy activities, efficient production activities, and activities on raw materials. Carbon Zero TENCEL is a new fibre offer to the market. It is an extension of the fibre portfolio that Lenzing offers. In terms of physical fibre properties, there is no difference to lyocell and modal standard or micro. Zero is an addition or an extra that can be ordered for Lenzing lyocell and Lenzing modal, which allows the additional marketing claims and communication of the fibre as Carbon Zero TENCEL. Carbon Zero TENCEL is an offer for a next generation of sustainable fibres. TENCEL has always been a leader for sustainable fibres in the textile industry. With Carbon Zero TENCEL, we now offer a solution for the textile industry to address the urgent topic and challenge to reduce carbon emissions. Thank you for your attention.